Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. For this question, it's really important that we understand what the words sum and product mean. Now, sum just means add, and product just means times. So we're going to start by adding the 5 and the 4. So that will equal 9. And then what we're going to do is find the product of 9 and 7. So we're going to multiply them together. 9 times 7, which is 63. So our answer is 63. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10, or 7/10. Whenever we multiply two negatives, we always get a positive, so we know our answer will be positive. We're going to do 9 times 12, which is going to be 108, and v times v, which is going to be v squared. Mode just means the most common or most frequent, and modal is exactly the same. It's just the most frequent amount of coins we're looking for. So the students who had 3 coins in their pockets came up 15 times. Students who had 4 coins in their pocket, well, there were 16 of them. There were 15 students who had 5 coins, 17 students who had 6 coins, and 12 students who had 7 coins. So the most frequent amount of coins a student has in their pocket will be 6, because it happens 17 times, which is more than any other amount of coins. So we're going to track the amount of eggs to make the amount of, or to make each amount of omelette. So 5 eggs makes 17 omelettes. And we're just going to find out how much is required, how many eggs is required to make 1 omelette. So we divide that by 17, divide both sides by 17. And so 1 omelette would be 0.294 blah 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 eggs. Next we want to see how many for 67 omelettes. And to get to 67 from 1 times 67, so do that to the amount of eggs, and we get 19.705 blah blah blah. Now you can't get 0.705 of an egg. We always round with eggs, and we always round upwards, because if you need 19.7, 19 won't be enough, so we need to pick 20 eggs. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in, so v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself, so we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10, so minus 10, and we know w is minus 4, so it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first, and I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive, 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. Bearings questions are normally written as find the bearing of destination from a location. So you can see in this question here that the answer is 275. So the line they're taking it from is this line here, this north line, and they're looking at this bearing here. So we currently are at B, and we're looking at the angle of A. So it is find the bearing of A from B would be the question. So to draw this graph, what we're going to do is just pick 3 points for our x values. So we're going to start off with x equals minus 2 and feed that into the equation. So we've got y equals 0.5 times minus 2, take away 5. So half times 2 is just 1, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So it's going to be minus 1, take away 5, and minus 1, take away 5 is going to be minus 6. Then we'll do our next one, which is x equals 0. And let's just finish that one off actually. We'll put it into the table, so minus 6, and we'll plot it. So minus 2 and minus 6 would be here. Okay, continuing on with x equals 0, so it's going to be y equals 0.5 times 0, which is just going to be 0, take away 5. So it's just 0, take away 5, which is just minus 5. So 0 minus 5 will be slightly higher, about there. And our last one will be x equals 2. So we've got y equals a half times 2, which will just equal 1, take away 5. So it would be 1, take away 5, which would be minus 4. So minus 4. And so that will be here. Now, don't just draw in the line that we've got. You've got to draw in the whole thing. And it will look something like that. So no gaps at all. You've got to do it for the whole graph. So I started at minus 4 on the left, ended at 4 on the right, and just lined my ruler up with the 3 points we've worked out. Here we're given angles on a parallel line, and the first thing we do is find out what letter they follow. And so I just connect the parallel lines with the angles, and it makes a little C. So if you look, it makes a little C, and C are interior angles. Now interior angles are a bit weird because they add up to 180. So to find x, what we need to do is take 172 away from 180, which will obviously be 8 degrees. And so it's going to be 8 degrees, and the reason is interior angles. Now some teachers call it co-interior, some teachers call it allied angles. Either one of those three is absolutely fine, you'll get full marks for. So we know that the mean is the sum of numbers over the amount. But in this question, we're actually given what the mean is. We're given that that is 29. We're also given the fact that there are 4 cards, so we're given the amount. So what we can do is just get our lines in and solve this. So what we're going to do is just times both sides by 4. So we're going to do 29 times 4, which is 116. And so we know that the sum of the numbers will be 116. So all we need to do is to find the 4th card, is get that 116 and just take away the numbers that we know. And when we do that, we get the answer 26. Now you can easily check this by adding up 37, 26, 27 and 26 again, and then dividing it by 4, and you will get 29. So we're going to first of all work out where 9 is on the y-axis. Well, we've got 8 here and 10 here, so 9 will be halfway in between. And what we're going to do now is just draw a line across at 9, and then wait until it hits the line, and then we're going to draw a line down, and you can see here that x is 1. So our answer is that x equals 1. So we're given a right angled triangle here, and we're asked to find length AC, which is this length here, and we're given 2 other lengths. So we're going to be using Pythagoras. Pythagoras involves us labelling the sides A, B and C, with C being the one opposite the right angle. And we know Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Both a and b here are 4.9, so it'd be 4.9 squared plus 4.9 squared equals c squared. So we're going to add the 4.9 squared together, and that will give us 48.020 blah blah blah. And here we're going to do a bit of solving. So we're going to square root both sides to find out what C is. So square root of 48.020 blah 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 is 6.929 blah blah blah. Rounded to 2 decimal places, this will be 6.93. So with each of these pools, try and imagine it being filled. So pool A, first of all, we've got water coming into it, and it's actually going to go quite quickly initially, and then it will hit a point at the end where actually it will go really quite slowly because it's a wider pool. So we would imagine that the graph for pool A would actually go quite quickly at the start, and then at the end it would go much slower. And that doesn't really describe, the red graph doesn't really describe that at all. So for pool B, we start off actually quite quickly because it's quite thin, and then we have a wider bit here, so it will go slower here, and then we go quickly again. So we need a graph that starts off quite quickly, then goes slowly, and then goes quickly. And the steeper the graph on our depth time graph, the faster it's filling up, and that red line doesn't really describe that either. Pool C, however, we can see it goes slowly at the start, and then because it's thin it will go quicker, so nice quickly, and then it will go slowly again. Well, that is a perfect description of the graph that we're given. So the graph we're given is definitely going to be for pool C. The formula for the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times the diameter. In this question, we're given the fact that the circumference is 37.7, and we're asked to find the diameter. So if we put our lines in, all we need to do is divide both sides by pi. So we've got 37.7 divided by pi equals the diameter. And so that is, when you round, well, it's 12.00 blah blah blah. Round to the nearest integer, that would be 12 centimeters. And we can try it by typing in 12 times pi, and we get what would round to 37.7. So let's look through this question to see what information we're given and what information we're looking for. So we're given the acceleration is 13 meters per second squared. We're also given the distance is 19, and we're also given the end velocity, which is v, is 34. And we're looking for the initial velocity. So which of these formulae include a, s, v, and u? That's got a t in it, that's got a t in it, so it's going to be this one here. So let's write that out. V squared equals u squared plus 2as. So that would be 34 squared equals u squared, because that's what the one we're looking for, plus 2 times 13 times 19. Okay, so let's just work these parts out. And so we've got 2 times 13 times 19, which is what, 494. And it turns into a solving part, so we're just going to solve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 494 from both sides. And so we're left with 662 equals u squared. Then we're just going to square root both sides. And so square root of that is going to be 25.729 blah blah blah. And it says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 25.73. So to find the locus of points that are 10 centimeters away from a point, you need to measure 10 centimeters on a pair of compasses, and then you put the point at A and draw them. Now I'm going to try my best to do this. It's probably not going to look perfect, but I'll do my best. And the length here, which is supposed to be probably isn't exactly, but this part here is going to be 10 centimeters to get the full marks, and obviously you want the circle to be a little bit nicer than the one I've drawn, but try and get it as perfect as you can. And the best way of doing that is just don't push down too much and just move the page around with your compass being stationary. So here we can just draw in 2 extra lines, and we can see that it makes a right angled triangle. And we're asked to find the length of the line segment AB. So we're asked to find what this length here is going to be. And we know what the other lengths are. We know that this is 2 and this is 3. So we're going to be using Pythagoras. And Pythagoras, we start by labelling the sides A, B and C must be the one that's opposite the right angle. And so we know Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 2, b is 3, and 2 squared plus 3 squared is going to be 13. And then we're just going to solve that by square rooting both sides. So the square root of 13 is 3.605 blah blah blah. And it asks it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 3.61. So the formula we need here is that the sum of the interior angles is equal to the amount of sides, take away 2 times 180. So we know that the sum of the interior angles is 2160. And we're looking for what n is. So we're going to do a bit of solving. Not too difficult. We're going to divide by 180 both sides. And that will give us 12. And then we're going to add 2 both sides. And that would be 14. So the amount of sides is 14. So it's really important, first of all, we make clear about how we convert things. So if I've got a unit in kilometers and I want to convert it into meters, then we know we just times it by 1,000. So 2 kilometers is 2,000 meters. But if I have something in kilometers squared and I want to convert it into meters squared, I actually times it by 1,000 squared, which is 1,000 times 1,000. Okay, so I'm actually timesing it by not 1,000, but 1,000 squared. So that's another 3 zeros. You can see here that that's 1,000,000. So we times it by 1,000,000. So 13 kilometers squared is going to be the 13, and then it's going to be times by 1,000,000. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 13 million. Now, it says here the farmer must pay 1 pence tax for every metre squared. So this is going to be 13 million metres squared. And so that's going to cost him or her 13 million pence. But the answer is going to be in pounds. So we just need to get rid of 2 of the zeros at the end. So it's going to be 13, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be £130,000. The first thing we need to do is work out the area of the floor. And you'll notice that this is a trapezium. So with a trapezium, the formula is half a plus b times h. And a and b are the parallel sides. So these ones are the parallel sides. And the height is the one connecting the 2 bases, the 2 parallel sides. So we're going to start off by writing down the formula. So it'd be half a plus b h. So half times 2.8 plus 1.2 times 11. And when we do that, we get 22. So the area of the floor is 22 meters squared. And it says here that the tiles are sold in packs which cover 3 meters squared. So if each pack covers 3 meters squared, we're going to do 22 divided by 3, which will be 7.33 packs that we need. Now obviously you can't get 0.3 of a pack or 0.33 of a pack, so we're going to have to get 8 packs and just have some left over. So we'll need 8 packs in total. Okay, next thing we look at is the fact that the Jenny has a 25% discount. So we need to find out what 25% discount would do to the £18.60 for the tiles, or for the pack of tiles. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the £18.60 and we're going to times it by 0.75. So we're just going to find 3/4 of it because she has a 25% discount, and that would be 1,395. So that's the tiles are going to cost £13.95. Now I've done this in pence and I've kind of muddled it together here, so really let's just go back because I've kind of done this in pence. So that would be 1,860 times 0.75, and so each pack will cost 1,395, and the reason we're doing this in pence is the answer needs to be given in pence, so I might as well just make that conversion now. And so it's going to be 8 lots of the 1,395 pence packs, which will cost in total 11,160 pence, or £111.60. But Jenny has £100 to spend, and we're asked how much extra does she need. So we're going to do the 11,160, take away the 10,000 pence that she has, which will give us 1,160 pence. So she needs to find £11.60 or 1,160 pence from somewhere. Something we know about rectangles is opposite sides are equal. So these two will be equal. And these two will be equal. And you notice now that we've got simultaneous equations. So what I'm going to do is get the coefficient of the y the same. And I'm going to do that by multiplying everything in the second equation by 3. So we get 6x plus 9y equals 123. And I'm just going to write in the first equation underneath, because with simultaneous equations we work downwards. Now looking at the signs, they are the same, and the s in same is the s in subtract. So we're going to subtract going downwards. We're just going to subtract going downwards. So 6x take away 3x is 3x. 9y take away 9y is nothing, which is good. That's what we need. And then 123 take away 93 is 30. We're going to get our solving lines in, and we're just going to divide by 3 both sides. So we've got x equals 10. So we know what x is, but we need to find out what y is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of the equations. I could pick the 2x plus 3y equals 41, and just substitute the value of x in. So 2 times, instead of x, it's times 10, plus 3y equals 41. So it would be 20 plus 3y equals 41. Get my solving lines in. And we're going to take away 20 both sides. So we've got 3y equals 21. And then we're going to divide by 3 both sides if I don't run out of room. So y equals 7. So we've got x equals 10, y equals 7. Now I could check that with the first equation as well. So 3 times 10 is 30, 9 times 7 is 63, 30 plus 63 is 93. So we know we've got it right. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in, and we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph. And so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are minus 1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. I'm going to draw out the two triangles that we have here just separately, and so we can see a little bit clearer about what's going on. And it's actually good advice to actually draw them separately. And so here we've got AB, which is, if I get off that mode, 33 meters. And so this is AB. And this other triangle is ADE. Should probably have labelled that on. And we've got the 91 there, and we've got 13 there, and then we've got 147 here. I think that's all. And we're asked to find length AD. So the first thing to notice is that these triangles are similar. And the way we know is that this angle and this angle will be equal, because on the original diagram you can see that they make an F, which means they're corresponding, because we've got the parallel sides. Same with these two angles, they're going to be corresponding for the same reason. And this top one is a shared angle, so they're going to be equal on both diagrams. When you've got two triangles that have equal angles, they're definitely similar, so one's an enlargement of the other. If they're similar, it means that we can find a scale factor. And so what I'm going to do is just find a scale factor between the 13 and the 91. To do that, we do the big number divided by the little number, and that gives us 7. So the scale factor is going to be 7. And we're going to work backwards with the scale factor, and we're looking for length AD, which is this length here. And so we're going to do this one, and we're going to times it by the scale factor. So times it by 7 to find out what the new length is. So 33 times 7 is 231. To work out the area of this sector, there is actually a nice little formula that we can use. And I'm just going to show you what the formula means. So the formula is going to be what fraction of the full circle do we have. Okay, so we're going to find out the fraction of the full circle we have. And then we're going to times that by the area of the circle. So to work out the fraction of the circle we have, we get the angle that we have in the sector, and we divide that by the total amount of angles in a circle, which is 360. Then we times that by the area of a circle, so pi r squared. Let's use that for our question. So the angle we have for this question is 57 times pi r. Now, to work out what r is, we just imagine the circle is whole. I'll do a badly drawn circle. And you can see here that this length here, this 5 centimeters, is the distance between the center of the circle and the circumference. So that is a radius. So it's going to be times 5 squared. Put that into your calculator and you'll get 12.435 blah blah blah. And it says it wants its 2 decimal places, so we round that to 12.44 centimeters squared. So we've got a right angle triangle here, and we've got 2 lengths and an angle that are involved in the question. So that means we're going to be using trigonometry. And we're going to start by labelling the sides. The one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, The one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now we're not using the adjacent here, so we're going to cross that out. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our SOHCAHTOA triangles. And so SOH, SOHCAHTOA. Just right. Now, because we crossed out the H, we can cross out the triangles that have a H in. So we're left with SO, and SO is short for sine x equals O over H. And so writing that in, well, the angle is x, and the O is 1.5, and the H is 2.3. And let's get our solving lines in. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite of sine both sides, so we get x sine sine. The opposite of sine is called the inverse sine, which looks like that. And you normally press the shift button on your calculator and then sine. So when you inverse sine 1.5 over 2.3, we get 40.705, blah, blah, blah. And 2 decimal places, which it asks us for, that would be 40.71 degrees. There are 2 shapes we need to find the volume of. There's this cylinder here and this hemisphere here. So we might as well start with this cylinder. And the formula for the volume is pi times r squared times height. So it's the radius is 9, so 9 squared times the height, which is 30. And when we work that out, we get 7,634.070, blah, blah, blah. Next is the hemisphere. To find the volume of the hemisphere, well, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. But because it's a hemisphere, we just times that by 1/2. So it's 1/2 times 4/3 times pi times r, which is the radius, which is 9 cubed. And that gives us 1,526.814, blah, blah, blah. And so the total volume is 7,634.070, blah, 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 plus the 1,526.814, blah, 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 which equals 9,160.884, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so when we round that, we get 9,160.88. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be -4, and 11 take away 14 is -3. Then I go pick a point on my shape, and the bottom or the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a -3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.